Hi, I'm Pages. I'm a library fan and avatar of your hostess, Linda Reimer, because Linda likes cats. Welcome to Library Connections, our weekly readers, viewers, and listeners advisory video cast. And let me check, I think that's everything on my startup list. And here's our traditional title card. This is Library Connections number 39, hosted by SSCL librarian Linda Reimer, and this is the Friday, January 22nd, 2021 edition of Library Connections. And to kick things off, we have the top 5 fiction bestsellers of the week from the New York Times. At number 1, The Duke and I, by Julia Quinn, the first book in the Bridgerton series. Daphne Bridgerton's reputation soars when she colludes with the Duke of Hastings, the basis of the Netflix series Bridgerton. At number 2, The Scorpion's Tail, by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child, the second book in the Nora Kelly series. An FBI agent and an archaeologist identify a mummified corpse and its gruesome cause of death. And number 3, The Vanishing Half, by Britt, Bennett. The lives of twin sisters who run away from a southern black community at age 16 diverge as one returns and the other takes on a different racial identity, but their fates intertwine. At number 4, The Midnight Library, by Matt Haig. Nora Seed finds a library beyond the edge of the universe that contains books with multiple possibilities of the lives one could have lived. And at number 5, Blood Heir, by Iona Andrews. Julie Leonard returns to Atlanta with a new face and magic abilities and is known as Aurelia Ryder. And moving along to the top 5 nonfiction bestsellers of the week. At number 1, A Promised Land, by Barack Obama. In the first volume of his presidential memoirs, Barack Obama offers personal reflections on his formative years and pivotal moments through his first term. At number 2, Caste, by Isabel Wilkerson. The Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist examines aspects of caste systems across civilizations and reveals a rigid hierarchy in America today. At number 3, Green Lights, by Matthew McConaughey. The Academy Award-winning actor shares snippets from the diaries he kept over the last 35 years. At number 4, On Tyranny, by Timothy Schneider. 20 lessons from the 20th century about the course of tyranny. And rounding out the top 5, Untamed, by Glennon Doyle. The activist and public speaker describes her journey of listening to her inner voice. Jumping right in with our recommendations, our first recommended read for this week is a new novel, All the Ways We Said Goodbye, a novel of the Ritz Paris, written by Beatrice Williams, Lauren Willig, and Karen White. The Paris Ritz has welcomed visitors for centuries, including Aurelie, Daisy, and Babs, each in her own time and with her own worries. In 1914, Aurelie and her American mother are living at the Ritz while they watch the Great War encompass both the city and the country they love. In 1942, Daisy isn't living with her grandmother anymore, but she visits often, even though she'd rather not get caught up in her resistance efforts. In 1964, Barbara has traveled from England to help a virtual stranger discover the identity of La Fleur, a member of the French resistance. Babs has only seen this name once, at the bottom of a love letter she hid from her future husband, and she too would like to know more about this woman. All three of these Team W writers, Williams, Lauren Willig, and Karen White, create engaging characters and complex relationships while setting a tone that matches the story's time period. Longtime fans will enjoy references to previous works by the authors, and newcomers will be grateful for the discovery of 3 new authors to follow. The twist at the center of the story is worth the price of admission on its own. Verdict. A great choice for anyone looking for clever historical fiction with plenty of drama, action, and surprises in every chapter. And that is the Library Journal review of our first recommended read for this week. Our second recommended read for this week is nonfiction. It's the new Winston Groom book, The Patriots. Historian and novelist Groom delivers an entertaining group portrait of Founding Fathers Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson, and John Adams, and their disputes over how to balance federal and state power in the American system of government. Groom's colorful and even-handed presentation highlights Adams's irritability and intelligence, Hamilton's idealistic streak and tendency towards pomposity, and Jefferson's habit of envisioning himself as a man of the people, despite his erudition and tastes for elegant objects. Though Groom documents their widely divergent backgrounds, Hamilton was a Caribbean immigrant born out of wedlock, Jefferson was an aristocratic Southerner, and Adams was descended from the Puritans, Groom also chronicles their fierce disagreements. For example, Hamilton's pamphlet attacking John Adams may well have contributed to Jefferson taking the presidency from Adams in 1801. Groom pays particular attention to the trio's fierce commitment to the good of the nation, and that they all held in common despite their differing points of view. Though readers well-versed in American history won't learn a great deal new, Groom spins his familiar tale with aplomb. This solid history reveals that the art of compromise is an essential ingredient in American democracy. And that is the Publisher's Weekly Review of our second recommended read for the week. In moving on to our first audiobook recommendation of the week, I'm going to preface telling you about the book by telling you I'm a huge fan of the Poldark series of books and the TV series. I've been a huge fan since I saw the original Poldark TV series with Robin Ellis in the 1970s. And that particular series was based on the first 7 books in the Poldark series. There actually are 12 altogether because the author continued to write books in the series past the 1970s. In fact, his last book was this particular one, Bella Poldark, published in, if memory serves, 2001. It was his last book, before he died. And if you want to find out what happened to Ross and Demelza and their friends Dwight and Caroline, if you want to see what happened to George Warlegan after 1800, if you want to hear a little more about Jeffrey Charles Poldark and Sam and Drake Karn, check out this particular novel. in either print form or audiobook form. It is available in audiobook from Hoopla. And just as a brief overview, it starts out in Cornwall in 1818. We continue the tale of Ross and Demelza, of the wayward Valentine Warlegan, whose existence keeps open the old wounds of the feud between Ross and George, of Bella, the Poldark's youngest daughter, whose precocious talent as a singer is encouraged by her old flame, Christopher Havergal, and by a distinguished French conductor who has more in mind than Bella's music, of Cloence, the Poldark's widowed daughter, who considers remarriage to one of two suitors, and of a murderer who stalks the villages of West Cornwall. And that's just a brief overview of the book. You also will find other favorite characters from the series in there, like the Martin family. It's a terrific read and listen, and I will give you a slight heads up. It is left open-ended at the very end of this. The duo whose love for each other has gone through all this series and all these decades from the 1780s to 1820, Ross and Demelza, they are still very much alive at the end of the series. So if you want to find out what happened after the TV series, check this one out. Moving on to our second audiobook recommendation of the week. This too is historical fiction. I seem to be on a history kick this week. This one's called Once We Were Here. It's the brand new novel by Christopher Cosmos, and the audiobook is read by Gary Bennett. On October 28, 1940, Mussolini provides Greek Prime Minister Metaxas with an ultimatum. Either allow Axis forces to occupy their country or face war. And Greece's response is swift: no. Meanwhile, in a small village, nestled against the radiant waters of the Aegean Sea, Alexei, the son of a local fisherman, and his best friend Costa, who were both born on the same night 18 years earlier and have been like brothers ever since, leave their homes. Like all the other young men in their village and throughout Greece, they're ready to bravely fight for their country. But before they go, Alexei asks Filia, the girl he's loved his entire life, to marry him, which sets into motion events that will change the lives of these three and their family and friends forever. Beginning an unforgettable story of courage, survival, sacrifice, and the strength of the human spirit. A spellbinding novel and sweeping epic, Once We Were Here, introduces listeners not only to the heart-pounding dangers and horrors of war, but also to the heartbreaking emotions and sacrifices of those who fight and whose lives war intrudes upon. And that's our second audiobook recommendation for the week. Moving on to our first streaming recommendation for this week. This is a new movie from Amazon Prime Video. It's called One Night in Miami. Based on a Kemp Powers play, the historical drama, One Night in Miami, imagines what might have happened during a 1964 meeting at a Miami hotel between Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, and Jim Brown. Not long after these four gathered, Ali changed his name from Cassius Clay and declared himself to be a Muslim. Malcolm left the Nation of Islam. Cooke recorded music informed by the civil rights movement, and Brown started winding down his NFL career to devote himself more to activism and acting. Directed by Regina King, the movie frames an evening of celebration and reflection as one long, energizing bull session between four very different men arguing and joking away from the scrutiny of a public judging their choices. And that sounds really terrific. It has gotten good reviews, and I haven't seen it yet, but it's one I want to watch this weekend. Our second streaming recommendation for this week is also brand new. It's a docu-series. It's called Pretend It's a City. It's available through Netflix. A little over 10 years ago, Martin Scorsese directed the documentary Public Speaking, which functioned as both a biography of the acerbic humorist Fran Lebowitz and an extended encounter with an opinionated, witty woman who these days is just as famous for being a great conversationalist as for being a brilliant writer. The two longtime friends have now teamed up again for the delightful series Pretend It's a City, which eschews any setup or backstory and instead offers 30-minute doses of pure Lebowitz. Scorsese serves as both the director and an on-camera interrogator. He mostly just lets this very funny, very cranky New Yorker riff at length about the highs and the lows of modern city life. Though often hilarious, there are poignant overtones to this show, which, like a lot of Leibowitz's work, is a lament for a rapidly vanishing world. So there's something both poignant and funny. Sounds good to me. Hope it does to you too. And our final streaming recommendation for this week is called Wanda Vision. It too is brand new. It's available through Disney+. Possibly the most anticipated Disney Plus show since The Mandalorian, the superhero sitcom Wanda Vision represents the start of a new wave of Marvel comic TV series and promises to be more eclectic and creative than the grim and gritty action dramas on other networks. In Wanda Vision, two of the odder members of the Avengers, the mutant matter manipulating Scarlet Witch and the superpowered android Vision, go undercover in suburbia, where they try to fit in by making their lives more like what they've seen on television. Disney has mostly been keeping the details of this long in-production show a secret, but the advertising so far has made it look downright surreal and absolutely unmissable. And that just came out, so even though Noel Murray there from the New York Times is talking about it as if we gotta wait a little bit, we don't. It's out now. And finally, the Hoopla recommendation for this week. I'm going to recommend the new novel in audiobook format, Waiting for the Night Song, written by Julie Carrick Dalton and read by Barry Kreenick. Katie Kessler has spent decades trying to cover up one truth, one moment. But deep down, didn't she always know her secret would surface? An urgent message from her long-estranged best friend, Daniela Garcia, brings Katie, now a forestry researcher, back to her childhood home. There, Katie and Daniela are forced to face a dark secret that ended both their idyllic childhood bond and the magical summer that takes up more space in Katie's memory than all her other years combined. Now grown up, bound by long-held oaths, and faced with truths she does not wish to see, Katie must decide what she is willing to sacrifice to protect the people and the forest she loves as drought, foreclosures, and wildfire sparked tensions between displaced migrant farm workers and locals. A startling and timely debut, Waiting for the Night Song is a moving, brilliant novel about friendships forged in childhood magic and ruptured by the high price of secrets that leave you forever changed. It is a love song to the natural beauty around us, a call to fight for what we believe in, and a reminder that the truth will always rise. And on to our odd duck recommendation of the week. And as you might have guessed from the little chocolate chip cookie you see in the left-hand corner of your screen, I'm going to suggest that you make chocolate chip cookies. Here is Dylan's recipe for chocolate chip cookies. Dylan is the Dylan from the Today Show. My mother is a huge fan of the Today Show and she watches it every morning. And she called me one morning early this week and said to me, "Ooh, can you get the recipe for Dylan's chocolate chip cookies? They look delicious, and her little boy Calvin absolutely loves them." And we both figured that if her little boy loves the cookies, they must be good, because you can't fool kids. They know what's good. So here is the recipe for Dylan's chocolate chip cookies. And not really being much of a baker, I don't know what the difference is between all-purpose flour and cake flour, but if all you have at home is all-purpose flour, I'd go for that. If you're lactose intolerant like me, you might have to buy a bag of lactose-free chocolate chips. Wegmans has them. But my recommendation basically is to make chocolate chip cookies this weekend. I can't say that. Try saying that 10 times fast. Chocolate chip cookies. And enjoying the heck out of those chocolate chip cookies. And that is our odd duck recommendation for the week. If you have questions about this weekly videocast, let me know. Send an email to me at reimerl@stls.org and I'll get back to you. Again, that's reimerl@stls.org. And of course, you can always call the library if you have questions. And that is the end of Library Connections for this week. What follows are a few informational tidbits. The tidbits include directions as to where you can connect with the library online via our website, catalogs, blogs, and through our social media pages. Links to articles used to create this week's video, otherwise known as references, and the library's contact information. And here we see the library's website found at ssclibrary.org. You can access our calendar of events, you can access the web version of our catalogs, and a whole host of other information through the Southeast Steuben County Library website. The library's appointments page is found on the library's website, so if you simply go to ssclibrary.org, you'll see that it says Make an Appointment in purple near the top of each page on our website. Click that link and you can make an appointment for curbside pickup or to use a computer. You can also simply drop by the library to use a computer anytime when we're open, but as we have a limited number of computers due to keeping everything properly socially distanced, if you really need to use a computer, you might want to make an appointment before you come visit the library. StarCat, the catalog of physical library materials, print books, DVDs, music CDs. You can search for materials owned by all libraries in the Southern Tier Library System. That's all the public libraries in Steuben, Chemung, Yates, Schuyler, and Allegheny counties. Go to starcat.stls.org from any device that has an internet connection. The digital catalog with companion apps Libby and Overdrive is found online at stls.overdrive.com. You do have to have a library card to use the digital catalog. There are two apps. Libby is for newer devices, Overdrive is for older devices and Kindle tablets. You can also send an ebook to your dedicated e-reader if you have a Kindle Paperwhite, for example. You can enjoy library ebooks on your Kindle Paperwhite. If you have questions about that, call the library. Hoopla. The Hoopla catalog features ebooks, comic books, downloadable audiobooks, and streaming videos, including both TV shows and movies. All Hoopla items are available for Southeast DeMint County Library cardholders to instantly check out. You can check out 6 items from the Hoopla catalog per month. You can either go through a web browser or download the Hoopla app to your smart TV or mobile device. Library blogs. We have 5 of them. One for the Adult Book Club, which simply means it's the book club for adults, nothing fancy. The Corning NY History blog, local history focus. Creation Stationery, our makerspace blog. Story Musings, a blog hosted by the library's resident author and head of adult services, Michelle Wells. And Tech and Book Talk, which offers some reader's advisory with a few tech tips thrown in for good measure. If you have questions about library services during the pandemic or want to make an appointment for curbside pickup, you are welcome to go the traditional route and simply give us a call. The library's phone number is area code 607-936-3713, and we've had the same number for all the many years I've worked at the library, which is going back to the mid-1980s. And I'm sure we had it before then, so if you have a 20-year-old phone book, you could still find the library's phone number in it. Social media. You can connect with the library, read library news, and post questions to the library via social media. The library has pages on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. In relation, each video in this series is available on demand via the library's YouTube channel after it has first been shown on Facebook Live, and you can also access previous episodes starting in this month through the Tech and Book Talk blog. And here are references of the week.